For more on this crisis in Venezuela, I'm joined in the studio by Jose Aristimuno. He is the CEO of Now Strategies. That's a PR marketing firm and former Deputy Press Secretary of the U.S. Democratic Party. Big change. Some good news. Red Cross going to deliver aid. They say it may be a week, maybe 2 weeks. These people need aid now. Give me your take on all of this.
Look, we're talking about over 30 million Venezuelans who are practically all in poverty. The few that were part of the middle class, most of them have fled the country, Peru, Colombia, others. I think, first of all, it's good for the country. Number one, the Red Cross, it's an independent, body. Maduro, for years, have not recognized that there's a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. He is now forced to do so because he's got over 50 countries across the world who don't recognize him as president. So I think him and his inner circle say, you know what, we got to do something about it. How do we try and negotiate with the opposition in a way that we don't look weak, in a way that we continue to try to legitimize that we're the real government. So I think for the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, like you said, there's going to be some sort of battle between Guaido's interim government and Maduro's government. Who takes credit for this humanitarian aid? That's what's going to play an interesting part for the next couple of weeks. But I think the most important thing is that these people need the aid, and they need it now.
Yeah, I want to talk about that battle that you're talking about, but I want to talk about another battle, which is the U.S. and Russia. Sure. John Bolton, the National Security Advisor, saying we strongly caution actors external to the Western Hemisphere against deploying military assets in Venezuela and elsewhere in the hemisphere, with the intent of establishing and expanding military operations. He considers this provocative, he went on to say. Kremlin saying, though, that the Russian military specialists who are in Venezuela, these were pre-existing contracts. Give me your take on this kind of back and forth between the U.S. and Russia right now.
Look, I think first and foremost, part of the hesitation of the United States is that you got a lot of exterior factors, exterior players who are in Venezuela right now, starting by the Cubans, right? There's over 100,000 troops, Cuban troops right now in Venezuela. It's concerning. I think part of the concern here by Guaido and by the United States is that the Russians are slowly deploying troops into the country. I think this last week, over 100 troops came into the country. Like you said, they're claiming that these were pre-existing accords and some sort of agreement. I don't believe it. I think the United States is going to be very vigilant the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks. If they continue to do so, President Trump has been very clear from the very beginning that all options are on the table. And look, I don't think anybody. I'm Venezuelan. I grew up in Venezuela. My father lives in Venezuela. I don't think anyone in their right mind would want a military intervention, to be clear. I think we're getting to a point that if this country, Venezuela, doesn't get fixed, even the Venezuelans within the country are saying, someone come and help us. But let's see, there's a new player in town, which is the Red Cross. Let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting, but we got to see how the Cubans, the Russians, and Venezuela play along.
Does the new player diffuse things in a sense? You were talking about the Red Cross being
Sure.
the new player.
Yeah.
Does it kind of bring the temperature down at all?
It does. I think it does. I think it eases things for the people internally, but if Maduro continues to lock politicians up, they just recently locked up the chief of staff of Guaido.
Well, and I was going to say, there was a guest on last night who's concerned that Guaido may be the next one locked up. I mean, is that a concern of yours?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, they said that he's a target. He's been by Maduro's government. They basically said that he can't run for any sort of political office, right, even though he's the interim president. Right. So it's odd, right? Because we're playing with the Constitution. Both parties are claiming, we're abiding by the Constitution, and who decides, right? I think the Venezuelan people should decide.
We got about 20 seconds. Sure. Guaido asking for protests this weekend. What can we expect?
I think people are going to come out. Humanitarian aid takes time. People are not they're not going to be seeing the food anytime soon. I think people should come out to the streets until the food gets to the country, and then we'll go from there.
Jose, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.